Wow, so bottom, okay. We're really Yitzhahara here. Okay, I don't want to stand in the way of progress. It was just, I was not banking on that. I thought for sure, all right, okay. Good, all right, so we're up to Va'af Rabbi Yonasan? Yeah. Okay, fine. So Va'af Rabbi Yonasan Hadar Beis. Well, just remember again, the topic of the Gemara, right there, 3 lines up from the bottom. Yud Chesem Beis, 18b. Yud Chesem Beis, 3 lines, 18b, 3 lines up from the bottom. So just remember again, the topic of our Gemara is what the dead are aware of. Right? What do the dead know? The dead don't know. So even Rabbi Yonasan went ahead and retracted his position. The Rabbi Shlomo Bar Nachmani, I'm Rabbi Yonasan. How do we know that the dead speak with each other? They converse with each other. Shenemar, Vayomer Hashem Elav, Zos Aretz Shenishpati Li Avram Yitzchok Li Yaakov Limar. Shabbos, it is absolutely beautiful. So remember again, this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, Hashem said to him, this is the land that I have promised to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov Lamar, saying. So the Gemara says, my Lamar. What does that mean, saying? So this is incredible Gemara. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Moshe, you're going to die shortly. Lech Amar Lahem LaAvram Yitzchak LiYaakov. Go and tell Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov the following. Shavua Shenishbati Lachem Go and tell Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that the oath that I made to your children, I have fulfilled. So we'll say it's very beautiful. So again, Kadosh Baruch Hu saying, Moshe Rabbeinu, when you leave this world, go and tell Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that the oath I made to them regarding Eretz Yisrael, that I would give it to the children, I fulfilled it. So the Gemara says, top of Yutes, 19a, so it says, so ki amar lahu my hubby. So now both say, so obviously there's 2 things that's happening over here. So this is actually interesting. So the Gemara assumes now that if you think that the dead aren't aware, there's 2 things that means. The lack of awareness is number 1, they do not know what's happening in this world. And number 2, in general, the dead just lack an awareness. They just lack a general awareness. So therefore, the Gemara says over here, if the dead indeed lack a general awareness, then when Moshe Rabbeinu comes and tells them what happened, that here I've given the land to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, it's not going to matter to them. Look at Rashi. It was actually interesting. Rashi says, "V'isalaita delo yadi ein mavinin klum elatzar de gufa." Now, what this mean will say is as follows. There is this concept that ultimately, again, the dead do have an awareness. What's the one thing they do have an awareness of? Ultimately, again, their bodies. Their bodies. This goes back to the Gemara of the 2 girls. Right? Remember, again, the one who was wrapped up in the mat of reeds. So because her body was unable to decompose, therefore, again, the soul was somewhat tethered to the body. So this idea that when we talk about the dead don't have an awareness, everyone agrees that the dead have some level of awareness, at least with the current state of their body. But if you go at but then that would be all they have an awareness of. They don't have an awareness of what's happening in the world, and they don't even have an awareness in terms of just a higher state of cognition, of awareness. So therefore, if they don't have a state of awareness, then what good does it do for Moshe Rabbeinu to come and tell Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov that Eretz Yisrael has been given to their children? To which the Gemara says, if you think the dead are not aware, so ki amar lahu my havi, then what good will it do for Moshe Rabbeinu to say anything to them? Ella, so the Gemara says, rather, what do you have to say? Diyadi, the dead are aware. So you have to say over here that the dead are actually aware of what is happening in this world. If they're aware, lama li lameimar lahu. So again, manashach, if the dead are aware, then what? Then why does Moshe Rabbeinu have to say anything to them that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given Klal Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael? To which the Gemara says, lachzuke lei tivusa lemoshe. It's actually very beautiful, so that the others, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, should have akaras hatov to Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moshe Rabbeinu was the trusted shepherd who delivered the flock from Mitzrayim ultimately to the banks of the Jordan River. So therefore, again, Moshe Rabbeinu, you go and tell the Avos that I brought Klal Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael, not because we need Moshe to inform the Avos of what's going on. The Avos know what's going on because the dead have an awareness, but rather the Avos should have a sense of gratitude to Moshe Rabbeinu for bringing Klal Yisrael this entire way. We'll say really an incredible idea. So how do we paskin? Do the dead have awareness? The dead don't have awareness? One day we'll all find out, right? Halavai after 120, we'll find out. Well, there are certain things I will say that we'll know when we know, certain things in general, I've spoken about this before, that the beauty of Yiddishkeit is that we are a very life-affirming, life-centric religion. That's why in general, there's a lot of stuff we don't know about death, a lot of stuff we don't know about the afterlife, a lot of things we don't know about the Messianic era. Those are all things we absolutely believe in with all of our heart, right? I believe in Olam Haba. I believe in Olam Haba, the world to come. What is it? No idea. I mean, we saw, the Gemara says, right, Tzadikim Yoshvim, Vatarasim Berashem, the righteous sit, the crowns of their good deeds are on their head. But Lamaisa, what is it? What is it? I don't know. Why don't we know about it? If it's such a critical part of our faith, why don't we know? Why do we know? Because, I'm sorry? God could tell us. Chashbar could put a pasuk in the Torah. Put a parashas Olam Haba, and just tell us what it's about. Do Meseches Olam Haba. So first of all, take away the element of Bechira. Excellent. You also see, by the way, look at religions that have clear pictures and portraits about what the afterlife looks like, and look at the death culture that it creates in those religions. So suddenly, again, the goal of life becomes to escape this. Oh, because that, wow, what's waiting for me over there? And you see this, and you see how death cultures could drive people to do the most barbaric, terrible things, because if I could just get out of this and get to that. So Yiddishkeit by design, I believe in all of these things, but the essence of my life is to maximize my time. So I think I mentioned this before. Abshan Shafar Hirsch brings down this idea. He says, I definitely mentioned this. He says, that's why you'll notice, he says, churches always have cemeteries attached to them. Shuls never have cemeteries. The only place you'll find shuls that have cemeteries often is in Europe. And that was an issue of land ownership. That sometimes Jewish communities were just given land and they had to use everything for it. Why don't we attach generally cemeteries to our houses of worship? Because we are a life-affirming religion. Because at the end of the day, I believe in the world to come, but I'm not in a rush to get there. And I recognize that that's where I reap the benefits of the life that I lived here. So my goal is to maximize this life as much as I can. I will say, and again, just to understand in general, this is also, it informs even the way we approach end-of-life issues. Right? One of the most dangerous terms that's used, right, in the medical community is quality of life. Right? Quality of life. That people decide what's a good life, what's not a good life. This is worth living, it's not. Right? Halacha tells us, whoa. We can't even understand or imagine what life in this world is worth. But a person can't do this, or can't do that. Okay, that's true. That's true. But you don't know what the meaning of life is, or even what a person could accomplish, even when they're not communicative. Again, it doesn't mean that we do anything and everything all the time, but it's all tied into the same thing. When you are a life-centric religion, end-of-life issues are made in that context. Cemeteries are kept away from houses of worship, because we all end up there, but I'm not in a rush to get there. In any event, so do the dead know? Do the dead don't know? And Meretz Hashem, halavai we should be zocha. And instead of saying that one day we'll be dead and we'll find out, halavai Mashiach should come, there'd be a tchias hamesim, resurrection of the dead. The dead will come back and tell us everything that went on, and in Meretz Hashem will be able to see halacha l'mayis. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak. Kol mesaper acharei hameis. We'll see anyone who talks negatively about the dead. Kilu mesaper acharei ha'even. It's as if you're talking about a stone. If you're talking about a stone. Now I will say but Berachos, what that means is that the dead are totally unaware, and therefore it doesn't matter. So you speak badly about dead people, whatever. It's like speaking about a rock. So some say that's because the dead are not aware, they don't know. So if you speak disparagingly about a dead person, they just don't know. Others say the dead are quite aware, but what? They don't care. I'll say, by the way, sometimes there's a lot to be learned from the dead, right? I'll say, can you imagine if we adopted this same mindset and stopped caring so much about what people say? Right? How often does it happen that someone says something and I feel the need to respond, and then after I respond, what happens? You're like, I shouldn't have done that. Right? It just doesn't do anything. It didn't help. It didn't influence. It didn't have a positive impact. But why? Because sometimes we care so much about what other people think, what other people say. The Maila of the dead, I guess one of the things, once you reach deadkeit, is you don't really care what other people, right? You're not keeping up with other people, right? There's no rat race anymore, right? You're not keeping up with anyone. And Lamaisa, you just don't really care what people have to say, which is quite, I'm sorry? Perspective, absolutely. I'm sorry? Lashon hara is aser, correct. They're not talking about it from the halachic perspective of the speaker. They're talking about it from the impact on the dead. Rav Shul's raising a very good point. You are not allowed to speak lashon hara about someone who's dead, right? But lamaisa, the Gemara is talking about over here. What do the dead know? The dead don't know. So the Gemara says a person goes in and speaks negatively about the dead. So others say it's like speaking about a rock, either because A, they don't know, or because B, they don't care. All right. So the Gemara says, "Ini, is that so?" V'hamar papa. Both says a crazy story. Chad ishtai milsa basrei de mashmuel. Listen to this. There was a guy who was talking negatively about Mashmuel. Now Mashmuel had already died. Right? A guy was talking, trash talking, Mashmuel, right? After his death, listen to this. V'nafal kanya mitlala ubaza la'arnika demuchye. And essentially, a beam fell down and split open his head. So we'll say, so what can you glean from this story? Don't speak negatively about Mashmuel, even though he's dead. Right? That's so apparently the Rizal said, you can't say this is coincidence that the guy speaking negatively about Mashmuel and the beam falls down and hits him on the head. So obviously, again, that would seem to indicate that the dead are aware of what's being said about them. To which Gemara says, maybe not. Shani tzura mirabanam de kudsha brichuhu tave bi kare. Well, this is very interesting. It's different. A Talmud Chacham is different. Rabbi said, because remember, the covet of a Talmud Chacham, the honor given to a Torah scholar, is not his honor. It's honor that comes from Torah, which by extension is the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it could very well be that when a person maligns a Talmud Chacham, even after he's dead, that's ultimately like maligning the Ribono Shel Olam, and that, of course, comes with repercussions and ramifications. So perhaps that's ultimately, again, what caused the beam to fall. All right, incredible. Shabbos, if a person speaks negatively about a Talmud Chacham after his death, nofel begehenim, he goes to Gehenim. We'll say so again. So the destructive power of disparaging Talmidei Chachamim even after they're dead. Shneimar quotes over here the pasuk from Tehillim. The pasuk is v'hamitim akalkolosam yolichim Hashem es po'alei aven shalom al Yisrael. So the Gemara says afilu b'shah shalom al Yisrael. Even at a time, ultimately, again, where there's Shalom HaYisrael, where there's good things going on for Klal Yisrael, Yolichim Hashem es Pali Avon HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take those who perform acts of iniquity, which is understood as speaking negatively about Talmidei Chachamim, to Gehenna. Incredible. Tana the Berachos Yishmael. What says beautiful Gemara? Imra'isa Talmid Chacham she'aver avera balayla. If you see a Talmid Chacham who committed an avera at night, al taharer acharav bayom. Do not think negatively about him by the next morning. Why? Shema asa tshuva. Because perhaps he already did tshuva. Shema sachadaitcha. Maybe he did tshuva. Alavadai asa tshuva. He certainly did tshuva. Rabbi say this is actually really beautiful. See, Rabbi say this is an incredible Gemara. When we speak about a Talmid Chacham, it's just important. I know everyone knows it, but it's really important to say it. When we speak about Talmid Chacham, remember Chazal's understanding of a Talmid Chacham is not simply someone who is a repository of knowledge. Why? We'll say anyone could acquire knowledge. And we also know that just because you have a lot of knowledge, that doesn't mean what? It doesn't mean you're a good person. It doesn't. There are many, many smart people who are very bad people. Right? Being smart and having a lot of knowledge does not make you righteous. The concept of a Talmid Chacham, Rabbi say, is a person who has the knowledge, but also has the midos, also has the qualities, also has the characteristics. What the Gemara is introducing us is this another idea. You know what it means to be a Talmid Chacham? To be a Talmid Chacham means to be the kind of person who owns your mistakes. What's the difference between a Talmid Chacham and a regular guy? Regular guy makes mistakes. And I both say regular guy, we all know a regular guy, right? What does regular guy do when he makes mistakes? What does he do? Excuses, projects, assigns blame. It's never me. It's always someone else. Meanwhile, again, what does a Talmid Chacham do? A Talmid Chacham says, I messed up. I'm a human being. I messed up. I'm going to own it. And I'm going to fix it. We'll say that's a Talmid Chacham. It's incredible. So the Gemara says, if you see a Talmid Chacham commit an Avera at night, just know by the next morning, he's done Shuvah. he's done tshuva. And the incredible part about this is, not only does the Talmid Chacham own it and fix it, but what else? What else does the Gemara say? He does it what? There's an immediacy. So Rabbi says, sometimes the great problem we have is, I know I'm going to fix it. When am I going to fix it? When am I going to fix it? When I get around to it. The greatness of what Talmid Chacham will say is, he's willing to own it, and he's also willing to fix it and fix it now. So you see a Talmid Chacham commit an Aveira at night, just know, by the next morning, he's fixed it already. So the Gemara says, V'hani mili b'dvarim shebegufo. That is very important. This is talking about, ultimately, again, Aveiros that he would commit with his body. Aval b'mamona, however, let's say you see a Talmid Chacham who was involved in some level of financial impropriety. I don't know, he stole money or something else. So again, you don't have to assume that he's about Shuvah unless, of course, what? You actually know that he returned the money. In other words, we'll say, I don't know, you see a Talmid Chacham speaking Lashon Hara. You see a Talmid Chacham doing something immoral. Right? People are people. We're all human beings. So Lamaisa, just know that a Talmid Chacham will own it, a Talmid Chacham will rectify it, and he will take care of it immediately. But if he stole money or he somehow did something else to another person, just know that Lamaisa, you don't have to assume that he's about tshuva until you know that he did good by the other individual. Incredible. I'll say, what a Gemara. What a Gemara. Definition of a Talmid Chacham is not someone who is blameless or flawless. It's a person who owns his mistakes and ultimately, again, rectifies them as quickly as possible. Incredible. Let's go back there. Says Gemara, this is actually an interesting case. There are 24 instances where Beis Din will go ahead and flog a person, or I should say not flog a person, excommunicate a person because they were disrespectful to the Rav, to the Talmid Chacham. 24 different, right? So if you go and exhibit a lack of derech eretz, ultimately again to a Torah scholar, ultimately again they'll excommunicate you. The Kula and Shalom Mishnah Seinu, all of them are mentioned in the Mishnah. Amud Yomi, Heicha. So this is great. Rabbi Elazar says, so this is Rabbi Shimon Levi making this statement, right? 24 instances will excommunicate a person for mistreating a Talmid Chacham. Rabbi Elazar says, no, where are they? Where could I find that? So Amrlei, L'chi Tishkach, L'chi Tishkach. Go and find it. Well, I say that is a good Rebbe, right? The Rebbe says, "You want to know where it is? Go and find it. I don't have to spoon feed it for you." Nafak dak va'ashkach. He went and he found the following. Tlas, he went and he found 3 of them. What 3? Mizalzel bin Tlas, a person who is disparaging of hand washing. Misaper achar mitasa and shal tamidei chachamim, person who speaks negatively about tamidei chacham after they died. And amagis adaito klape maila, and a person who acts arrogantly ultimately towards Cheshbach. So we'll stop over here for tonight. We'll pick up in Meretz Hashem. So again, remember, these are only 3 out of the 24. So Meretz Hashem in tomorrow's night shiur, we'll begin to see we'll expound on the first 3, get into a few more after that. It's just around the shiur tomorrow night, 7:40 p.m. Mariv.
Not decomposing something considered like a chisaron or a minor, because there's a case of the person who was such righteous, something like the body did not compose.